One of the reasons is because it is the beginning of the final week of the NBA regular season, which wraps up on Sunday. So, Legs, my green list today is the 5 big questions that are yet to be determined. And so I'll ask them, and then let's see here your answers to them. So at number 5, the question is, who winds up 5 in the East? The Cavs, the Magic, and the Knicks, as of yesterday, where the 3 of them were separated by 1 game, who winds up without home court advantage in the first round?
I think it's probably Cleveland. Look, and some of this is based on schedule. Some of it's based on the fact that Donovan Mitchell's banged up, right?
Yeah.
That's a problem for them. I think the schedule's more favorable for the other teams, and Orlando's playing great. And look, Orlando, I'm looking at them, Greeny. I'm still thinking they might have a shot at the 2 seed. Orlando might be the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference when it's all said and done, but I think most likely Cleveland goes on the road in the first.
Because the Bucks have just been in a free fall. But of the 3 teams I just named, which is the most dangerous out of Orlando, Cleveland, and the Knicks? If I told you one of these teams is going to make a run all the way to a conference final, which would you tell me it's going to be?
Wow, that is tough. I'm going to probably.
Any of them?
No, not really. But I probably would take the Knicks because I think the Knicks consistently play harder than their opponent more than any team probably in the NBA, and they have a proven playoff star at the point, a guy that can control the game, control the action. Being that short-handed, look, if Mitchell's banged up, that's a problem for them. So maybe it ends up being the Magic, but I don't think any of these teams can realistically challenge the Boston Celtics, and I do think there's one other team out there that is starting to get their act together because they just got a guy back in Philly in Embiid. And I think Philadelphia, if they avoid Boston, Philadelphia might be the biggest threat of all.
So we'll get to them. So that was question 5. Here's number 4. And I don't mean it literally because we don't know, but the question is going to be who avoids Denver in the West? As we sit and think about who's going to wind up making a deep run. Denver, we don't know if they're going to wind up 1 or 2 or 3.
Right.
So you don't even know how to avoid them if you want to. But the question, and particularly among the big stars in the West, the Durants, the LeBrons, the Stephs, who doesn't wind up having to play them immediately?
My answer to that question is whoever is smart.
Right.
Whoever is smart.
Right.
Look, and you can't orchestrate it. And I was just having this conversation about Dallas, because I think Dallas is a real threat. But they don't know where Denver's going to finish to avoid them in the first round. Because Denver could be 1, 2, or 3, and Dallas just has to go out and win games. I say the same thing about these other teams. Unless it comes down to the last game of the season, and you kind of know then how you could orchestrate things by sitting guys, I think some teams would look at that. But right now, because you don't know, you've got to just go out and play games and hope you don't fall on their side of the bracket.
Okay, so that's number 4. At number 3, the question is, can the Lakers make it all the way to the 6th seed? Now, full disclosure, I wrote this question yesterday afternoon, and then LeBron didn't play yesterday, and Anthony Davis got a little bit banged up in the eye, and they lose a game last night, and all that momentum seems to go sideways. But just how dangerous at full strength do the Lakers look right now?
Yeah, I think it's doubtful, first of all, they make it out of the play-in.
Right.
I just don't, because it's not just one team you've got to worry about. You got several there in the mix. Right? Any of those teams could win 3 out of 4, and the Lakers have no shot at
right.
So I think they probably end up in the play-in. And I think as in that spot, dangerous, assuming they get out, and then again, they don't get Denver right off the bat. And who knows how that's going to play out. But if you get the Lakers in a 7-game series against Minnesota or Oklahoma City, and they're healthy and LeBron is healthy, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people that are going to pick the Lakers to win that series.
Yeah, Minnesota's the team they played last night. But again, LeBron didn't play, and Anthony Davis got hurt.
You can't take anything out of the Lakers game if LeBron doesn't play.
If the Lakers wind up with Minnesota in the first round, who will you like in that series?
Oh, man, it's tough to say right now. I don't have to make that decision until we're on the precipice, because don't force me into making a pick about a hypothetical series that might not take place. But I'm just telling you, I'm telling you a lot of the betting money will go toward the Lakers in that situation, because I think, number one, Minnesota's not at full strength. They're missing Karl Anthony Towns. And Oklahoma City is so young without a lot of collective playoff experience. And that is why people would tend to lean on LeBron and AD in that situation, because of their track record and the run they made last year to the conference finals despite having a mediocre regular season.
Yes, that betting money at ESPN Bet will come, at least in part, from me. See if we can't get a Seeing Green boost for that one. At number 2, I put who wins the West. And I understand, I didn't mean who ultimately comes out of the West, but I mean who winds up number 1. Because that does place, look, if we have to live in a world where Denver, we don't just automatically put them in the final, right? Is someone going to beat them? And if that is the case, will anyone have home court advantage in a 7-game series against them?
It's less important to Denver than the other 2 teams. So let's see how they're going to treat the end of the season. Having said that, I don't think Mike Malone probably looked at the season, 30 games ago, and thought they'd be in a position to just get the number 1 seed, because it's almost like, well, if you want to give it to us, we'll take it. Because the way Minnesota, Oklahoma City were playing at the time, and I think Denver was a team that was just treating the regular season differently because they had a longer offseason. They won a championship. It's a different mindset the second year. They can go win a road game if they're not in the 1 seed, and they know that. Not as important to them, but now they're sitting here with 4 games to go, Green, and saying, well, if you're going to give it to us, we'll take it. Why not? Because they have one of the best home court records in the league over the last 3 years.
So I brought this up on the radio the other day. Would it surprise you more if Denver didn't make it to the final or if Boston didn't make it to the
Boston, for sure. Boston is head and shoulders better than everybody else in the Eastern Conference right now. Denver, I do think there are some teams that could challenge them. So I'd be more shocked if Denver won. If Boston wasn't in the finals, I would be absolutely stunned.
I get it. But isn't there some degree of trust that the Nuggets earned last year that the Celtics just haven't earned yet?
No, I agree with that. But here's the one reason I feel differently about the Boston Celtics, because I think Jason Tatum has to ring the bell in a big way. I do think people are looking at him and wondering and waiting. Here's the difference. He's never had Jaylen Brown on this level with him. So there's less pressure. There's greater margin for error for Jason Tatum in certain moments to not be great. And they can still win because of the versatility of that starting 5, adding Holiday and Porzingis, and more importantly, because Jaylen Brown, a lot of nights, has been their best player over the last 2 months. That's why I have more confidence in the Boston Celtics than I did even a year ago.
All right, and then number 1, my question was, can the Sixers make it out of the play-in? Alan Hahn was making a point looking at their schedule, and they get a win last night without Embiid against San Antonio. They could actually play their way into the 6th spot, meaning they don't even have to play those survive and advance games. But we talked about it earlier this hour. For those just joining us, the way Tyrese Maxey plays and the way he plays with Embiid, I genuinely believe they're the biggest threat to Boston in the East.
Totally agree, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't think they're getting out of the play-in, but I do think it's important they get to the 7th spot so they get that game at home.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Keep them down, try to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA over here, feeling fun.